What's going on, guys? Kai here. Today we're doing the class tier list for PvP and PvE in February 2025. Let's get into it. Alright guys, these have already been posted on the resources channel in my Discord, as well as all the updated ones, all the newest ones are in the pinned section for the resources channel. So last month's have been unpinned, February's have been pinned, and then on YouTube, there are different playlists that I've made on the YouTube. There's one for guides, one for updates, one for tier lists, one for, I think I said news, and the lore videos. So you can also watch, you can check the individual Legends in Neverland playlist that has everything I've ever done for Legends in Neverland. And then you have these individual playlists. If you only care about certain types of videos, you can go there as well. Now, first, we had the class PvE tier list for February, and mostly the PvP and PvE didn't change much this month. PvE had the most changes, and that's because I'm leaning this more towards the events that we have come around. If we're focusing on something like Guild Boss, which is long PvE fights, then this would be different. It would be more akin to last month. But right now we're focusing more on the most recent events. Things like, what's it called? Colosseum, the Elemental Lord, all of these events that keep coming back for PvE, that really focus on quicker damage, is what this PvE list is geared towards. So at the top we have Priest. As your world level goes up, the level of the monsters goes up, which means you need the attack and crit buff more, especially if you're trying to do the most damage in PvE, followed pretty much on the same level as Armor. Armor has gotten better in PvE because of the new Chestnut, giving you that extra attack buff for fire formation in PvE, as well as fire naturally giving you more crit damage, as well as the passive when you have Echo 5 or higher, just does really well in PvE, not to mention Winter Cherry, things like this. And even though people struggle with Netherfire, doing the flamethrower, they're like, well, I can't move, I can't do other abilities. Incorrect. So you can't move, true. If you want to cut it early because the monsters you're killing have already died, you can use a dodge to get out of that. As well as what you can do is while you're doing the Netherfire, you can either swap teams and then cast your other team's fairies while you're doing the Netherfire, and Netherfire will keep going. Or you can swap fairy teams and throw all your next round of fairies while you're stuck doing the Netherfire animation. Then we have A tier, and this is where a shakeup happened. I had Marksman at the top, but I moved it to the bottom of A tier. All three of these are still A tier. As far as actual damage output, what is it? Kagagure or Shadow Owl has the most burst, even over Triple Shot over here. And then the other two are more sustained damage, but the battles are quick enough that the Triple Shot takes too long to happen, and you would rather have the flip forward, the dash forward from Dragon Fighter, and the constant AoE damage. All three of these are viable options in PvE and can do really well. But like I said, Marksman has trouble just because the multi-shot takes so long to cast. Then down here in the B tier, really, they both fall into what I said with Marksman. Dragon Knight does really good over time damage output in PvE, but you need to charge up the spear drop, which loses time, which when we're doing the race events, when time matters with a bunch of the PvE events that keep coming around, it really hurts. And Perfect Blade right here, Perfect Blade Blazing Owl has a really good rotation. Use abilities, use the passive, swap to the other team, and when you come back, you're ready to do the same thing over and over again. It's a really good secondary team, and it would probably be in the A tier if Priest wasn't pretty much required at some of these later stages. It would be really good in a spot like Priest, but it would also always be behind Kagagure when we talk about PvE, because you can start with 6 stacks of palm skills, not palm skills, one is palm, of marks with Shadow Owl. Down here in the C tier, we have Judge animation issues, as well as one of its main damage output things really cares about having more break than the opponent's block. In PvE, they don't have a monstrous amount of block, but the amount of break you'll need to get a good amount of damage out of your EM Chain Strike is pretty ridiculous. Other two right here are more focused on PvP aspects. They both fall into the same issue I've been talking about, where Wind Chaser, to do the second skill, requires some pullback, and that's the skill you're going to be using the most. Gladiator, in group situations, Moonslash is still probably busted, but Punitive Chop, even though it does a monstrous amount of damage, you have to charge up before throwing it. That kind of sucks. Mechanician and Berserker. Berserker really sucks because it's made for PvP and doesn't get any even fine resets in PvE. And that's Mechanician. This is Armor. This is Mechanician. Mechanician's summons, the spiders are fine, but the cooldown is way too long to get any consistent damage out of them. Even if you're just trying to burst through, at that point you would much rather have armor. PvP. This is, I think, pretty much the exact same as last month. No real changes have been made, even with the new Chestnut Rose being added. Fire is still a little bit off of being a real PvP menace. She is a pretty good option, but you lose a bunch of HP even though you get a shield. Wind is just doing a whole lot better. Earth is doing okay. Water is the tanky one. And then obviously Holy is Holy. Fire is just missing a little oomph. They do have Hydraga Flames, which is a monstrous option. Natsu is pretty good, but animation is pretty slow. If you have a setup skill or something, he can do a bunch of damage. Fire is just right at the bubble now. Fire was very firmly in like the A or B tier. Now it's right at the cusp of S tier. So talking about our classes, we have Priest, tenacity down, block down, gives you attack up, shield, crit, also immunity knockback, very powerful. Wind Chaser, strength of nature is huge, a third dodge is huge, a lot of CC abilities with low cooldowns. Blazing Owl, pretty similar, and even though Blazing Owl is up here, it's only up here for people who have practiced Blazing Owl. If you're just walking in as Joe Smo Doshmo and you haven't really done much training with Blazing Owl, you're not going to do any kind of big numbers. You're not going to dodge important skills. You're just not going to be able to do what the high-end players are able to do. Especially that fourth skill, Omnidirectional Slayer. That skill is monstrous. Does crazy damage. Dodges skills. Has a huge cooldown, but that's partially gotten rid of by the passive chi ability, and then you even have healing with the chi ability. Down here we have Gladiator. I think it's pretty much in the same boat as Perfect Blade, Blazing Owl, but the stat requirements for Gladiator to do the same things that Blazing Owl does is way higher, and you also have this jumping HP issue. It's really good, pretty tanky, as well as Moonslash is one of the most busted skills in the entire game, so it's here at the A tier. We also have Dragon Fighter, which has Dragon Roar, another get out of CC card. So you can either have a second one with the cat skill, or you can have this as your sole get out of jail free card, and then also have something like Capybara as a almost guaranteed stun. We have Marksman that isn't up here by itself in like 1v1 PvP, but when we're talking about group PvP, Guild War, Top League, things like this, one Marksman can end the match by itself just because you have the front line keeping the front line, especially with tenacity balls, keeping their tenacity low enough so you can guaranteed crit with your never miss buff.